Okay, so here goes. So this is typically what I do is I'll start with a charred brown, and I'll typically add a little bit of red into it to create kind of a, I don't know, pseudo red mid-tone. I don't know how well it's coming through on the camera. I hope it is. There's the red, this heraldic red. Colors look accurate so far, so here you go. And all I did was add a little bit of water into it to thin it down just so it goes on pretty smooth. Here's my base coat, so woo woo woo. And yes, I grabbed a Christmas themed mini to do this, just so I could have an excuse to paint red. Okay, so basic coats there. I don't know what this is called. I think people call it wet blending, but typically you'll just put down some base heraldic red and then go through and start doing highlights. One of the advantages of the Master Series paints, they dry so darn fast, it makes it easier. I hope you can see the red highlights really showing through already. But the trick is to continue and pop your red, and then you go back and add the shadows. One of the problems I have with the way a lot of people paint reds, I don't agree with it because I think it looks more like an orange, a fiery orange. But they'll go through and they paint the red and they do like an orange highlight or a pink highlight, and I don't think it looks right ever. And that's my opinion. I'm allowed my opinion. No one can offend it. No one gets mad at me for saying this, okay? Anyway, that's my opinion. So that's why I do it this way. And as you can see so far, it's looking pretty good. I'm going to set that down and let it dry for a little while so that it can then do my Dragon Black wash, which is a Nightmare Black, which is this one. It has sort of blue-purple color to it, so it's going to add some velvety look to the cape. And then I'll go back and do another red. But while this is drawing, I guess I could do some other stuff. So Chadavi, C.H. Davy wanted me to do show him how to do the basing. So I'm going to show you how to do my really, really dirty cobblestones. And by dirty cobblestones, I'm talking about this. Because people spend forever painting these things. I think it's ridiculous. You know, you can do it really fast. And since I do tabletop standard, not competition standard, your blends don't have to be perfectly smooth. Oh, crud, that was the wrong gray. That was a silver. What I'll use is a weathered stone. Let's come over here. And just put a big old dollop of it down. Because what you're going to do is load the brush. And the next color is charred brown. You put over here. And this is my beat up army painter brush. But you see how terrible it is. I hope it's focusing. This is a brush. You can tell it's just the paint's all up in the metal part here for the name. I'm tired. But anyway, so let's go ahead and do these cobblestones real quick. Like I said, this isn't a competition level painting technique. And oh my gosh, some slotted base. I'm just going to have to tear this off later. But anyway, so I'll show you. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and load the brush with some lighter gray. And you can see my brush is starting to fill up with this lighter gray. But I'm not doing the pure gray because I'll show you in a little bit. But I'm going to put on the tip here some dark brown. See the very tip's got some dark brown on it. And I'm just going to put it down and rub it in. And there's a stone. And boop, there's another one. And when I say quick and dirty, I mean this is quick and dirty painting. But there you go. And this will save you guys tons of times. You don't have to spend hours agonizing over your basing, which is ridiculous. But there you go. See, it looks kind of decent. I mean, you're talking tabletop. And I'm not really trying on this base, but you could do a lot better. I'm going to show you guys some cleanup you do afterwards. But you'll also want to change the angles from time to time, just add some variance, because if you sit there and do them too long, it'll start to look like brickwork. Put some dots in some of these spaces where you got like a large black spot there, kind of fill it in. And your stones don't have to be perfectly shaped. But I do it this way because, well, not perfectly, but I do it like the way I'm doing it because I find it looks pretty good. And you see me add some shadow in with this brown over here I'm grabbing from my palette. And that's just to create a shadow where the character's standing on the base. Touch around the feet here. Really don't like that big spot right there, so I can get in there with the brush. And you have to forgive me, normally I paint in a, what's the term? Oh, geez, what do they call it? I curl into a little ball and paint on my knee because you can see my hands shaking. So it makes painting details very difficult. And the best I could do right now is brace on this tray that I paint on. So I can show you guys how to do this. But you'll see me come back now with some gray. I'm going to add some highlights on the stone. And since it's still wet, I could take it and just kind of push it in and blend a little. And it's imperative that you do this while it's still wet because it'll look really, really rough if you do it when it's dry. But that's also part of the thing. It's a quick and dirty technique. You got to do it quick. So the faster you do it, the better your blends can be. But this is also how I paint a lot of models because I tend to do stuff like this while I wait on a coat to dry, like this red coat right over here. And it makes a lot of time up. But you can see the stones look pretty good so far. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. And while I'm letting that dry, go back to my red. Let's see how dry it is. It is still wet, so I guess I'll paint on something else. Like I said, this is the big trick. You just sit here and you grab random things off your desk and you work on them all the time. So let's see, I've been working on this guy right here. Since I got to wait on this stuff to dry, I can do something else for the time being. Because you can't touch on the cobblestones. Ooh, there's a spot I missed. You guys see it right here by the foot, left of the foot. And I'm sure there's a million other ways and a million other people are going to say, oh, I could do that better or blah, blah. But this is how I'm doing it. I'm showing you. This is a technique I'm comfortable with my garbage hands. And I have a lot of success with it because I think it looks good when you're looking at it on a table. So off to the side here, I don't want to adjust my camera because it'll mess things up, but off to the side here, keep a couple water bottles. This is just my paint water bottle. And I have a second for metallics. You see all that stuff floating in there? That's why you don't use the same thing for metallics in your flats because you'll get little flecks of glitter in your paint. It looks terrible. It'll ruin a really good paint job. And I've done that because I'm me. I'm a goober. All right, here. I hate waiting for paint to dry. But I can tell you one thing, this dries so much faster than Citadel's paints, and I really love that. So far, Master Series seems to be the fastest drying of the paints that I've played with, so I rather like that because it allows me to get a lot of stuff done. Every month I paint roughly 20 to 30 models a month. So and people say, well, to what quality, Steve? Well, I paint pretty good, like this is one of the random models I keep on my desk. I just touch on her from time to time. I do a few things on her. And when I feel like she's done, I'll just finish her up. She's pretty close to done now. I might touch her face later if I start doing faces. I don't like to waste paint. Like you see all this on here, this is waste, and I hate doing that. So I try to paint with the daub. Like you saw I'd messed up here. I grabbed the brown from there to do the inside of his hat. I hate to waste paint, so I'm trying to make sure I reuse and get the most out of this stuff because darn stuff's so darn expensive. But yeah, not to say Reaper's paints are expensive particularly. They're not. They're pretty cheap. But anyway, I'm just filling empty space here talking while waiting on paint to dry. I'm just trying to keep you guys from crying in tears of boredom. So I don't even know if this is recording, honestly. This is my first stream, so I'm hoping it works. Anyway, oops, sorry, whacked my camera. I'm going to pull it right down here because I feel confident that it's probably dry enough to touch up on the little highlights here. So I'm going to do a little highlights. I'm going to use the same technique I use the edging. I use the side of my brush here to catch the edges. And the reason this stuff's taking so long to dry right now is because I did that wetting. I add the water to it, and that really slows MSP's drying down a lot. I've never used a wet palette. I've never understood how they work or why to use them. And don't bother telling me how, because really I just don't have the time to learn a new tool set. For some reason, my airbrush is collecting dust in a box somewhere. Because I'd much rather just do wet blends. I have a lot more experience with it and more comfortable with it. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. You do what you're comfortable with. So while I'm sure there's some uses to the tool and it's a good tool, but it's not a tool for me, and that's okay. Just like this technique may not be a technique some of you like. It might not be the technique you want to use, and that's okay. I'm just showing it to those who want to see how I do it, and this may be useful to you, may not. Anyway, I hate to rattle on here, but I can't really do much else while I'm waiting on this to dry. But you can see how the cape's starting to come out. And the red's really working. I mean, you don't have to do orange. You see the red's coming out, the bright red. You don't have to do white or anything, that BS that people talk about. You just paint on top of black. It's fine. You just got to do several layers. And each layer, because these paints are pseudo-translucent, each layer will pop up the color more and more. But because I want a velvet look with her, I'm going to have to do the Nightmare Black. Normally, I could just do this brown like this, and you can see it looks fabulous. Of course, I could probably thin it out a little bit and do this blend a little better. Truth, I can't see that well right now because my glasses are all smudged up because my toddler got a hold of them and I haven't washed them. So let's add some water, thin this down a little bit. Ooh, accidentally grabbed some gray. Looks pretty thin. There we go. Anyway, Nomad, I hope this answers your question on how I paint my reds. I don't know if this even come out, but I'm hoping it does. I mean, it's a really sloppy one, but there you go. Oh goodness, there you go. But you see, once that dries, it'll be that same red, but you got that brown in there. And I think the real trick is just to do the contrasting colors. If you put the brown in the shadows, that charred brown, I guess the analogous would be for this is GW colors would be Evil Sun Scarlet and Rhinox Hide. But we're using MSP, so I'm talking about MSP. But so the charred brown does the shadows, and you add a little bit of red into it, so you don't have to blend that much. And you just start layering on the red. And you can glaze to smooth out like you saw me doing a little while ago when I add some water in my brush, but you don't have to. It's just something I'm doing. But there's a striking red you like. That's how I do it. And let's, oh goodness, I keep sticking my hands in this paint. I'll wash my brush off right quick and finish off these cobblestones. So CH Davy could have it. Now we can go into painting some other stuff. So I'll see, grab my Weatherstone again. Oh, no, I don't have to. Some on the table still. So I'm going to get some water in here and create a sort of glaze. So let's try to find a dry spot here. It's black right here. All right, you see how it's pooling right there? We want that. That's good. Because we want to create little, because the stones are not flat. They'll have like little bumps on them, see? So I'm creating little bumps. And the water will do the blend for you. I don't know how clear that is, but I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. And of course, since those are gray, I have nowhere else to go to my beloved creamy ivory painting. I love this color. Add a little bit of this to my gray, and that'll pop all the stones up. And you see how this has come out really harsh? The contrast here is not blended at all. It looks like little dots. That's because this base is dry now, so I'm just doing it as a glaze now. And watch how much difference it's going to look on this stone over here. It kind of fans out a little bit, and that helps a lot with the look of the stone. And again, there's a slotted base, and I'm going to be throwing this base away, so it's just a exercise and showing you guys how I do it. Because what I do is I take a washer on my bottom base and I put a magnet right there for my bases when I store them. So slotted bases are worthless to me, and they're a pain in the butt to Dremel off the slotted metal. So I'm probably just going to throw the base away on that model and redo its basing. Sometimes I use a texture roller from Green Stuff World, like on this little pig summon. You can see the stone is 3D, and that's using the Green Stuff Roller. But it's not necessary, as you can see. I think this stone's pretty convincing as it is. You know, and if you find that there are spots of it that are too bright, for example, like a spot underneath this model, this character's shadow would cast something. So I'm gonna get some of this charred brown and glaze that. Let's see. Looks like it's pretty dry. So there we go. And you can glaze that in and get some really good shadow in there. Now you got a shadow in this character. I'm trying to be careful on the front here because I have some of those glazes I put down the lighter color for the stone, but you can see the shadow now. And that's how I do my cobblestone. So I hope that helps, CHJV, and Nomad, I hope this works for you. Oh, another shot of the red here. So that's exactly how I do my reds. I don't know if that helps, but I hope it does, man. Have a good one.